Rightio, I think we're good to go. Good evening everybody and welcome to another edition of Race Spec Pacific Series. We're here for Tier 4 for round 13 at the Singapore Grand Prix. One of only I think 2 night races, or 3 if you count Abu Dhabi, on the calendar. So it's always something exciting to see. Don't see these cars under lights very often. I'm Bodhod and I'll be commentating this evening. Apologies for a slightly late start to the stream. Singapore is the longest race on the calendar, and yes, because of my participation in Tier 3, yeah, that just ran into this slightly, but we're here nonetheless. So guys are just getting their first few laps in now, so we haven't missed too much, which is good. Usual suspects towards the front, which is good to see. Just on board with Mofo here, as he's going to come round and set a P5 time on mediums. So I'm just going to pull up these standings quickly and just link the stream into the chat so we can get a couple of viewers in. Alright, I think we're just about good now. There we go. Alright, so hopefully get a couple of people seeing the stream. Tier 4 Super Tier, I absolutely loved commentating these guys so far, and Singapore is going to be a fairly eventful race, probably one of the more challenging ones on the calendar, just with the close proximity of the walls 24/7. Yeah, incredibly difficult to get a clean, fast, aggressive lap out. These guys are probably going to be taking it a little bit easy on their first couple of laps, just to feel their way around a bit, find where the grip is, and then probably send it on their final run. Because it is such a long lap, almost a minute 40, mid-30s times, you're probably only going to get 3 runs in, so you have to make the most of them, as any mistake could be quite costly. But we'll see what these guys can do. We've got a couple of yellows around the track. I think that's just people possibly getting out of the way. It looks like a Racing Point may have gotten some damage. We'll stay with Ashina Retardo though around the final corner. He's going to set a time good enough for P9. Down the race has picked up a bit of damage. No, he's just passed off to the side, so not an incident there by the look of things. We'll ride with, why don't we ride with Candy Cane? He's coming through the middle sector now, nice and technical. Want to get as close to the walls as you can without touching them. Although the damage is on reduced, that's the last thing you want around here, getting something damaged. You have to try and brush the walls in some places to maximise the speed through the corners, but yeah, you want to kind of not risk it too much, particularly in the early stages of qualifying, and when you come to the race as well, these guys won't be absolutely sending it, I don't think. Long race damage can really kill your momentum, so we'll see what these guys' approach is. Looks like Candy Cane's trying to get a banker down now, coming through the third sector. We'll stay on board for the rest of the lap, trying to hit all the apexes you can. Don't run into that wall there, turn 18, that's a very common incident place. For some reason drivers seem to misjudge their braking zone a fair bit. But we'll see if they can hold it a little bit slidey on the rear there, and through the final couple of corners. It would really suck to validate your lap here after all the hard work. Looks like Candy Cane's hung on to it. That'll be a time good enough for P9 at 37.7, so a real spread in the time so far actually. You've got Macedonian 4/10 clear at the top, and then some really big gaps between some of the drivers. So guys still trying to find their feet a bit. We'll ride with the AlphaTauri, perhaps here through the middle sector. Captain coming through probably one of the most technical sections on the track. You want to carry as much mid-corner speed as you can. You don't have to worry about flooring the accelerator so much. It's just about keeping that mid-speed through the corners there. Does a fairly good job of that actually, does Captain Kino. He's got a purple second sector. Who knows if that's accurate or not. We know the game is very friendly with giving out purple sectors. We'll have to see whether they can actually kind of get those purple sectors on the board. See if they can make it, hook it all up, and hopefully get those actual purple sectors. We'll see what Captain Keenan can do though, coming through the final couple of corners, right, left chicane. Easy to get caught in that curve there, so don't want to be doing that. Try and hit that inside corner, don't run wide. That's going to be a P8 for Captain Kino with a 36.8, so Macedonia's at the benchmark at the moment. It looks like we've got a Renault going a bit slowly. I think that's just P1 getting out of the way. We've got a few yellows around the track. That is one thing that could be a problem in qualifying. Although with the long track, I guess the cars will be more spaced out, but That's the last thing he wants to see, a slow car in front of you while you're on a hot lap. So Suskas is just finishing his lap now around the final corner. Get a nice camera shot there actually. He'll come across the line. P1, so 35.5, just knocks out his teammate for now, but Macedonian will be out on track again soon. It's probably worth mentioning actually, Suskas has found some good pace recently. He's been right up there with his teammate who is leading the championship at the current time. I will pull the standings up and run through it. We'll ride on board the Red Bull there as he goes past. While I find these standings, they should be updated. So currently it is Macedonian with a 14-point lead now over One Sick Mofo in P2. And then a fairly big gap actually back to Lunacy. It's another 22 points back between Mofo and Lunacy for P3. And then another big gap back to BMAC. And then an even bigger gap to Suskas. So other than the top two, the other guys in the top 5 are very spread out, but then from P6 all the way down, the biggest gap is only 8 points, so there's lots to play for from P6 in the championship down, which is Artie Cheng's, his teammate down the race just behind as well, but a lot of guys in close proximity there. But the top 5, Macedonian, Mofo, Lunacy, BMAC and Suskas, fairly spread out generally. Part of that is due to a couple of quite chaotic races actually, where we've seen a couple of contenders, DNF and other contenders, finish really well. Think of Hungary a couple of weeks ago where we had a lot of contenders DNF from the race. So that's kind of spread out the championship a fair bit, but there is still plenty to play for. With I think we've still got this race and 7 others left in the championship, so still a long way to go. BMAC's going to come across the lane. He's going to improve by 0.3, put himself up into P3, just ahead of MJ. I'll just check those races left. Singapore, then we've got Russia, Japan, USA, Mexico, Brazil and Abu Dhabi. So we've got this and then 6 more races left for the championship. So still a lot of races to get some good results at, but I mean, if you're serious about contending, now's the time to put in the good races. So hopefully these contenders can put in a really good fight. Speaking of contenders, Mofo put in the quickest time with a 34.8, which is actually 7/10 quicker than Suskas, so that's a great time. And Lunacy as well in P3 there, put him some good times. Macedonian's still in the pit lane, so he's choosing to only go 2 runs by the looks of things. As BMAC gets a 5-place grid penalty for a collision with Artie Cheng's. That is not going to help his championship. And this is probably just about the last place you want to pick up a grid penalty, with it being quite difficult to overtake. So that could be costly for BMAC, particularly if he does have to start on those qualifying softs, which at the rate he's going to have to. So that's quite important there. I'm not sure if Artie Cheng picked one up as well. We might just check that quickly. Lots of invalidated lap times. So BMAC grid penalty, it looks like Artie Cheng's no. So 5 places for the Red Bull. That's a setback, which is not what he would have wanted. We'll ride on board, who we haven't seen yet. MJ's coming in the pits. 3 hours in the pits. We might ride with Is Honest on a lap. Honest is invalidated. Lunacy's in the pits. Mofo is on an in lap, so we might find someone on an out lap. Looks like there's possibly a racing point. No, it's the other one. Who's going to be the first one to start a lap? Oh, it's down the race and smacks the wall there. Not ideal, getting out of the way of Honest Cook. I think I said invalidated, yeah he did. But it looks like he's still kind of pushing, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. Anyway, we'll find... I'm not sure if F1 Boy's pushing either, he's in 0 ERS. This is that weird in between phase of qualifying where no one's really on a lap. People are going to be waiting as late as they can to get their lap in. P White looks like he's on a lap, so maybe we'll ride here with the Renault man. He's put on some more mediums actually, so he doesn't want to qualify in that top 10, or at least doesn't want to qualify on softs in there, as we've got some yellows in the second sector. That guy's probably just backing up. So P White, he's slightly up on his best time, which I think is on mediums as well. No, so P White set a banker on softs and he's going to try and beat it on the mediums, so he's going to need to put in a tidy lap here to do that, because the deficit between the mediums and the softs is pretty much, I think it's about 1.5 seconds even, with the track being so long and technical. So there's a Williams chilling out in the second sector there, and also a couple other guys being slow, just waiting for a gap, as most people are now leaving the pits. So we'll have a flurry of times coming in. P White's actually 3.5 tenths up on his best, so it's been a good lap for P White. If he can hang on to that, it might put him close to Ashuna Matata in that magical P11 where he'd get free choice of tyres. So if P White can stick this time on the board, then it could be quite useful for his race. He goes a bit deep into the chicane under the grandstand there. We're right on board for the end of the lap. It's been fairly tidy actually so far for P White. He's going to run out of ERS just about at the last corner, and he's going to come across the line. It will be, well, he's lost a bit of time in the third sector there, as you'd imagine on the mediums. That's where the softs will be really good, but he's in P12 on mediums, which if he can stay P12, it might not be the worst place to start. So he won't be too unhappy with that, I don't think. As F1 boys on the wall. I wonder what's happened there. Has he DNF'd? No, he's just parked. And he's getting out of the way of a lot of traffic. He probably needs to move before he gets disqualified, as he does so. So I'm not sure if he's just gotten out of the way, but he's got big damage. So he's probably just made a mistake there, which is not ideal. Looks like there's a Williams in the wall as well. That's Breatho. So not ideal there for either Williams. Both of them finding a bit of wall to eat, which is not what you want in your last run. So they'll both be done for qualifying with broken front wings. The F1 boy, he's being a bit suspicious here. So I'm not too sure what's going on with the pair of them. But we'll try and find someone on the lap, because that's not pretty to look at. Looks like Candy Cane is on the lap. He's nearly 6 tenths up, so we'll stay with him. Got a bit of traffic at Breatho there. He gets out of the way nicely, so that's good. Doesn't affect the lap. Got some more yellows around the place. Not to worry about those. So F1 boy has retired from the session. He's done that possibly on purpose, so that might be a bit questionable there. We saw him attempt it again, but that's okay. We won't worry about that for now. Candy Cane come around the final corner. Can he put the lap on the board? It is enough for P12, so bumps P White down and also Ashuna Matata. Who else have we got on a lap? Have we got any contenders on a lap? Macedonian coming through the third sector now. Actually Macedonian's gone deep, so Macedonian's call is done. What about his teammate? He's invalidated. Mofo's just missed the line, so he's going to not improve in his best time, but it's currently sitting in P1, which isn't the worst place to be. Lunacy's attempt down but purple, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but we'll trust the game to throw up something interesting. But MJ might be coming across the line, or it's Drow. MJ is just behind Lunacy, so we'll cross to Lunacy first and then pop on to MJ. Coming through the last sector now, trying to keep it tight, hit those apexes. Don't be afraid to run too much curb, but just watch the power. Take that nice and tight. Can Lunacy put in a pole time? Round the final corner up to the line. He's up by 2 tenths, but can't jump to position, so stays P4 there for Lunacy behind the 2 half guys. MJ will improve to P6, which is a good result. Looks like the Alpha Tauris, Capkino coming across the line. Where can he put himself? P4. So that's a good result there. Holtman Dan comes into the pits. I don't remember if Sauce Cuss was on a lap or not. No, he's invalidated. BMAC is on a lap, so we'll stay with BMAC as well. Obviously he's put himself in the wall, so that's not going to help his chances there. So not ideal for him. Artie Chang's has bailed out. So BMAC will be the next across the line, but I'm not sure if he's going to bail out. He's invalidated as well anyway, so it doesn't matter so much. And I don't know if P White will be on a lap either. He will be the last one. No, P White's not on a lap, so that will be it for quali. Unless Candy Cane's going again. No, Candy Cane's in the pit, so that'll be it. So it'll be Mofo and Pole, showing a strong showing, with a strong showing, that's what I meant to say. Showing some good form. He'll start in the best position on the grid. Short run to turn 1 at the place which is difficult to overtake. The front row is definitely where you want to be. Suscus that qualifies his teammate, so it's a half 2-3, which is good. Cap Kino puts himself in P4, just ahead of Lunacy and BMAC in P6. So the top 5 in the standings are all in the top 6 here on the grid, so as you'd expect them. And you've got MJ, Honest Chris putting a decent time. Holtman Dan in P9 on mediums as well, so that's worth noting. He could be in a good position there for a real shot at possibly even a podium on that alternate strat. The medium hard probably is the way to go. But yeah, can't take away from Mofo. Great lap on the soft tyres there. As oh yes, BMAC with that five place as well. That's worth remembering. So he'll drop to P11, but we'll have to start in the softs. That'll put F1 Boy up one more position, which will help him. We'll just run through the entire grid. So a couple of guys setting their best laps on mediums. So obviously don't want to be in that top 10 and start in the softs. So they'll probably slap on some mediums or even hards, as will F1 Boy, Candy Cane, and then Breatho, Dan, and Drow in the bottom spots as well. We'll see what tyres they go on. But we haven't really talked about strategy yet. I believe we may get a bit of rain at the end of the race. I heard a report, but you can't really quite count on that. So you'd probably try and run a normal strategy anyway. So I think most people will probably try and go mediums to hards, or maybe even soft to hard. Although if the rain is going to hit early, you might see a couple of guys try soft medium and hope that rain comes sooner rather than later. But we'll have to see. Normally, if there's no weather at play, the medium to hard is the best strategy, but track position is always pretty king on this game. So a soft to hard you could try and stretch, but P11 could be just about as good as starting in the top 4, top 5. So we'll have to see what those guys can do. But with the weather, that kind of throws a bit of a spanner in the works. So it's going to be interesting to see who can kind of get the strategy call right before the rain hits. I'm not sure exactly when. The drivers will see on their strategy board in their car. They'll be able to see when the rain is likely to disappear, but I can't see that from here, so it's just going to be a guess. We're just going to have to use our eyes and have a look and see what happens. But it is definitely a dry start, so we don't have to worry about it yet. We'll pop on the tyres, put some data on tyre. Yep, so oh, interesting. So Hold Up and Down, yes, on P8. So no, it's not a most, half split from P12 to 17, so 3 on mediums, 3 on hards. So the back 3 looking to go long for the first stint, the 12th, 13th, 14th with Candy Cane at Shumatata and P White. They might even have the best tyres at the start, being fresh, because those soft tyres aren't going to last too long. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of progress those 3 on the mediums can make. Then Hold Up Man Down as well, although they will be a couple of laps old for qualifying. They're going to be in a lot better condition than some of the other guys in front of him. So it's going to be interesting to see if they can make any sort of progress at the start of the race, because those softs will shiver up pretty quickly. So anyone in chat, get your predictions in as well for a top 3. It's a long race, it's a very long race, so anything can happen. So it'd be awesome if you did get it right. But yeah, let me know who you think could get on the podium. Plenty of quick guys in this tier, so nothing is guaranteed, and with such a hazardous track like Singapore, it's going to really throw up a really good challenge for these guys. So it'll be interesting to see how they approach this race. I suspect Mofo and Suscast Mastoni, those top guys, they might try and get a bit of a gap and then maybe pit. Although you don't want to pit into traffic, so it's going to be a challenge on the strategy. But we'll see as they just come around the final couple of corners now. I'm going to take a swig of non-alcoholic drink. Don't drink and drive, lads. Yep, in Melbourne today it was incredibly hot, so yeah, summer is definitely on the way. It'll be nice and humid in Singapore, actually, as we get our predicted pit stop strategy. Soft, medium, medium, the game suggests, which is probably not quite ideal, but it is an option. Yeah, and the soft, medium, hard is not an option, so I'm not sure why they tell us that. Yeah, who knows, as we get a lovely camera view of people going through each other. Classic spectator menu here on F1, but looks like everyone's made it to the grid fairly well. No one has been disqualified and put on the grid, which is a good start. Now, turn 1 could be quite chaotic, as people are going to want to make up a few spots, but it is tight. So these guys are going to have to be on their best behaviour coming into the first couple of corners to ensure that there's no trouble. The last thing you want is to damage your wing on lap 1 and then have to pit, and the pit stop is a long one here because the pit lane is very, very slow. I think it's just about the slowest pit lane on the calendar, but it looks like everyone's on the grid. Can we get a good camera shot? There we go. So we've got some red lights, 4, 5 red lights. and we are underway. It looks like a decent start there for the two Haas guys actually, and a poor start for, I think it was MJ, as he's going to go down the inside. There's a bit of chaos at the back here, and there's a big spin. I think that is Breatho perhaps, I'm not 100% sure. As there's more carnage there. I think that's a Ferrari gone round. Is that honest? No, or I think it might have been honest, I'm not sure. No, my mistake, it was the Alpha Romeo of Candy Cane. I saw a red car there. It is Candy Cane, so he's gone round as well. So Honest and P White going side by side here. Keep it clean. Honest backs out. Just ahead MJ having a look at Hold It Man Dan as well. It looks like at the back here we've got a bit of movement through the field. P White's made a good start for P9, but up the front it is the top three have stayed as they are. Lucy up in P4, he's got more yellows. That looks like Candy Cane again, still struggling. Dan the Racer, there's been an incident here. Breatho, F1 Boy and Dan the Racer have been involved in an accident, and Breatho has front wing damage. It's not ideal then. He's reset the track, which is also legal, so make a note of that. But that is not ideal for their race start. But up the front is Mofo with almost a second already. Just writing something down, my bad there. But yeah, Suskas already out of the 1 second window of Mofo. Mastoni just behind. And Lucy's made up a position as well, I think, on Cappuccino. Hotman Dan's made up a few as well. Get the positions gained. Yeah, so Lucy, Cappuccino swapping over. Hotman Dan with those mediums. As Candy Cane gets 10 seconds for corner cutting, he may end up just retiring from the race. Although I really hope he doesn't. He's a long way back now, as our leaderboard's all mucking around, which isn't fun. Those Haas guys are not dropping down the field. It looks like there's a Williamson fence as well. I think it's Breatho. Yeah, he's gone in the wall again, so really bad start there for Breatho. As it looks like Holdeman Dan and MJ going side by side here. Candy Cane gets another penalty, so he's going to have to settle down a bit. But Holdeman Dan up in a P4 now on those medium tyres. So he's the second biggest climber. Our biggest gainer so far is Shumatata up 6 places. As actually maybe we can't quite say that yet, as our leaderboard's still mucking around. Yes, that's not quite the case. Looks like we're sorted now. So P White and Joel are actually the guys who've made up the most places. So they've got 5 each. Biggest loser is Candy Cane down 4, and F1 Boys down 4 as well. And then Honest Crooks lost 3, which is not ideal. But we'll go back to the interval. My bad there. He's got some more yellows around the track. I think that's just those two in the pit still. Lunacy all over the back of Macedonian on the timing screen, but who knows if that's right or not. Looks like our leaderboard is still broken, so apologies about that. Let's hope that sorts itself out. P White and Nighty going side by side. P White with a nice move around the outside. That was actually really clean there, so good job from P White. Showing some good racecraft in the early stages of the race, as Candy Cane has left the session. I'm not sure if he retired. Yeah, he did retire. So that's a shame for him out on lap 2. Yeah, far from ideal for his race in this championship. We'll put the tyres back up again so we can see. Mopo's that's not the quickest lap out in front. Suskas is possibly holding up his teammate pad now, so Macedonian may look for a move through. He's actually at the quickest lap, so Haas might be smart for swapping around. As F1 Boy gets a time penalty as well. Don't want to get too many of those at all. As looks like Lunacy's dropped off a little bit from Macedonian now, so Macedonian with a really good lap 2 there. He's on the back of his teammate, and looks like Suskas just going to let him pass. So the Haas guys working in perfect unison, as we so rarely see them do in real life. These two, I reckon, should get the promotion into full-time seats. They obviously know how to work together when they do like each other, and I'm sure they're the kind of qualities that we would like to see. But Haas making a quick switch is probably the right call. Looks like Suskas slightly slower than Macedonian at this phase of the race, and you don't want to let Mofo get away. That gap's already 2 seconds, so probably the right move there. Cap, Kino and Hotman Dan have also got some good pace there. It's still on the back of Lunacy, but MJ struggling a bit for pace on those soft tyres, so the mediums could already just about be quicker than the softs. That's how bad they wear out. So looks like Hotman Dan's on a bit of a charge here on those mediums, which is good. Good for him. And if he can make the strategy right at the end, then he could be on for a really good result. If he can kind of line up his strat with the rain that could come, then he could be on for a fantastic race actually. But still early stages left. It is a long race, 31 laps, very long laps. So, as Capkino gets a bit slidey there, that might even allow Holtman down a little look. No, not quite, as he's gone a bit cautious into the final corner there, nearly loses the back end. Don't want to be doing that too often actually. Capkino not close enough to make a move on Lunacy. P White and MJ are going side by side, and they're going to make a bit of contact. And MJ's gone into the fence. Has he kept it out of the wall? I think he's avoided damage somehow, but he's losing out a few places now. He's going to lose out to Artie and Honest, and possibly BMAC. MJ's going to think about a send, but thinks better of it, which is probably the right call. Now BMAC's got a great run. He's had a eventful race so far, which is not what he wants, contending for a championship. But he's going to make a bit of a move here, and MJ's going to fight it. They're going to make more contact, and MJ's going to run BMAC off the track, which is not fantastic in terms of racecraft. And BMAC's going to slide through on the inside there. So MJ doing his best, being incredibly aggressive, but not quite managing to make the defense stick. So now that puts MJ out of the point, which he'll be disappointed about actually, I think. Someone who won't be disappointed with their start is P White, though. He's up a lot of positions, starting well outside the top 10. He's now in P7 on fresh medium, so he's going to have the best tyres of everyone, I think, at this stage. Got a spectator in chat, Mr. Perzo. Good to see you, mate. Had a poor race, unfortunately, in the Tier 3, but got plenty of pace. So if you want to see the likes of Perzo running around racetracks very quickly, go check out the Tier 3 streams on the Race Spec YouTube channel. But we are not going to divert our attention away too much from these Tier 4 guys, as we've got a few battles brewing. Looks like Capkino still a bit of a sandwich meet, as Lunacy's getting very slidey in the softs. Oh, incredibly slidey. Wow, so Lunacy is really struggling on these old softs here. We've got yellows. That might be Dan the Racer, but we'll save this battle because Lunacy is really struggling, and he might lose out to both AlphaTauris here. He is actually, so Lunacy losing to P6. I'm not sure what's wrong with his tyres. I'm not sure if they're just that worn, but look at him sliding around everywhere. That's absolutely shocking. He hasn't got a puncture, has he? No. P White's now in P6 on mediums. Lunacy's playing a bit of Tokyo Drift here. So what Lunacy needs to do is cool down the tyres and settle down a bit, because the last thing you want to do is just spinning off the track. So Lunacy really struggling now. We might see him even in the pits this lap. Also, Shumatara and MJ is swapping over positions as well. Shumatara getting through on the DRS, I presume. That was Dan Racer, who did run into the wall down as well, so he's now making a pit stop for mediums, which is not what he would have wanted as part of his race plan, so not ideal there. But it looks like Lunacy has now managed to gain a bit more control over his rear tyres. As I said, he has another big slide, so struggling a lot by lots of things. Wrong camera, my bad there. Oh, and he's... Geez, this is just absolutely ridiculous. I'm not sure what's wrong here. I don't know if he's just trying to push too hard, because he's having all sorts of problems. He's lost a lot of time. So Shumatara and BMAC going side by side as well. BMAC having to concede to Shumatara, who's got some good pace. So the softs are definitely cooked. I think Lunacy's learning the hard way. Look at that gap in front. He's lost lots and lots of time. He was ahead of Capkino at the start of this lap, or at the end of the last lap, and he's already dropped massive time. So Lunacy should probably pit this lap, and he does. It looks like Artie Chanks is going to follow him in. Do any of the front guys pit? Looks like they're all staying out. So Lunacy having a shocker of a lap, losing lots and lots of time there, but now he's going to have some fresh tyres, which he'll be absolutely thankful for. So Suscuss still in the back of Macedonian actually, so they've got some good pace, just letting his teammate pull him along. Although Mofo is still pulling away a bit. So the Renault got some good pace. Renault's got some good pace, definitely. Race winning pace at this stage, but still a long race to go. Suscuss right back of his teammate. Speaking of on the back of his teammate, Holderman Dan also right there. P White's got good pace as well. P White's catching these AlphaTauris, so I think almost at this stage the AlphaTauris might need to swap over as well, because Capkino's going to be struggling on those soft tyres, and Holderman Dan and P White are going to have a lot more pace. You can see all the soft guys dropping down. You can see Shumatara's pulling his way through the field again. Really catching Honest Crook now in the other Ferrari. Speaking of Ferrari, as they get nice and close to the hairpin. Lucy has put on the hard tyres, so that tells me that rain is a long way away. And then Artie Chanks to put on mediums, so maybe Lucy's just trying to play it a bit safe, maybe a bit mindful of some tyre wear problems in the first stint, and not wanting to take any chances in the second. Hotman Dan's going to actually have a run on his teammate now. 2 AlphaTauris. Tiny bit of contact perhaps, and I wonder if Pete White's going to fancy himself to go here. He's going to sneak down the inside. This is not a very easy overtaking spot. As Cap Kino is going to... he's going to have to concede, but that was a really nice move there from P. White. Actually got his car in the right spot. It looks like the 2 Mercedes guys have... I'm not sure if they had an incident or if MJ's just lost it, but MJ's really struggling here. He's sliding all over the place again as top 2... P1 and P3 are in the pits, as well as a couple of others. As long as Cook gets 5 seconds for speeding, was the last thing he wanted. So Mofo comes in for hards, Suscus in for mediums, Capkino BMAC in for mediums as well. So a bit of variety in the strategy here actually, which makes things interesting in terms of when the rain's going to come, because now I have no idea. If some people think the mediums are going to make it, some people don't. That's going to make things interesting come the weather. But Holtman down P White now inheriting P2 and 3, and Shumatata in P4, so making the moves now. Drow in P5 as well on those hard tyres doesn't pit yet. Worth noting too. One thing Mofo will lead the pitters, but on the hard tyres, which will be slower than Suscus on the mediums. And Macedonian may be vulnerable to an undercut from his teammate by staying out this extra lap, because the softs are definitely cooked at this point. But in terms of on-track battles, the only ones we have really at the moment are Lunacy and Cap Kino, and then R13 is just behind, but neither of them are particularly in striking distance of each other yet, so a little bit of a stalemate here. Actually, it's Breath and MJ going side by side as well. This is actually a battle, so we'll stick with these guys down for P15. Breatho having pit for softs, he's going to have to make another stop the next couple of laps. MJ just pitting for mediums after we saw him go around. So MJ's going to hold that one there though. But yeah, lots of guys with a bit of a gap to other cars at the moment. Right on board with Macedonian though, as well. Breatho has spun it and he's in the fence. As Macedonian is in the pits now, so Macedonian making the call. Let's move off Breatho there, so he's going to come in. What is he going to put on, and where is his teammate going to be relative to him? I think he may fall behind it because the undercut will be really strong, especially with Suscus in clear air. He's put on hards, so Macedonian going hard. Suscus is coming around the front corner, so he's going to jump his teammate pretty comfortably actually. I think, yeah, he's already passed him, so the undercut working wonders, but Macedonian's going to have the longevity on those tyres, but will he have the pace? As up front, P White and Holdermat Dan are going side by side on the medium tyres. These guys probably don't want to race too hard because they are on the same strategy and possibly a race winning strategy, but they are going at it now. P White getting through on Holderman Dan, so P White has amazing pace. We're saying Holderman Dan qualified really well those medium tyres, but P White coming from, I think he started P14. Yeah, starting P14 now up to P1 for P White. Shimitaro as well gaining positions, but all these guys are going to have to stop again, remember, as Breatho is going to pick up 5 seconds for speeding in the pit lane and retire in the pit. So disappointing there for the Williams man. Yeah, he was having the shocker there, so understandably frustrated. So now 1 Williams left in the race. F1 boy is currently just sitting outside the points. So hopefully for Williams' sake they can get F1 boy into the points. So Mofo's right back here if Drow. Mofo has pit, Drow hasn't. So Mofo's going to want to have to clear him quickly. Otherwise Suscus is going to be right in his tail. We've got Macedonian and Lunacy and Capkino coming again. So look at that gap between Suscus and Macedonian though. So Macedonian has lost 8 seconds in all of that. I wonder if he's made a wing change as well, because that is a massive deficit. I don't think the undercut is worth 8 seconds last time I checked, but Macedonian now with a massive deficit. And it looks like Suscus actually might make a move on the Mofo first. These guys are going to go at it. Drow's going to be a bit of a roadblock here. Mofo's going to go down the inside and make a tiny bit of contact and a bit more contact. Suscus is going to have a look around the outside and get a double switchback. Can he make the move stick? He's going to get a bit squeezed by Mofo there. Mofo defending hard. Drow loses out there, understandably on those older hard tyres. But Suscus with a lot of pace now, and he's going to make a move to the inside aggressively, and he's going to get it done on the DRS. So Suscus now into P4, which is massive for Haas. So now Suscus has to push while his softs are good, while his mediums are good, and get a bit of a gap, and then he can start to look after the tyres a little bit. But now's the time, I think, to put in a couple of good laps and then start to relax on the tyres. As Mofo is now down into P5, but ahead of Drow critically. and now Macedonian leading this little train here, so on the hard tyres, they're not going to have as anywhere near as good pace as the mediums of all the guys behind him. But it is difficult to overtake, so if Macedonian can keep some track position, then this strategy could work at the end of the stint, particularly if the rain is a bit further away. So Macedonian under a bit of pressure now, while his two main rivals actually, Soscubs and Mofo, are well up the road, so maybe a mistake there staying out a bit later, especially when you put on the hards. You think if you go on hards, when the medium hards are borderline, you'd pit a bit earlier, so that's safety of the undercut, but he's not chosen to do that, and he's paid the price as honestly pick up the penalty as well right at the back of his train here. So these guys, 4 guys, actually 5 guys, RD on the back as well, nice and close together. I wonder if anyone's going to be quick enough to make a move though, because there really aren't many places to get past someone. You can see how narrow the track is, and how hard it is to get a really good run because the corners are so regular. There's no real straights. Excuse me. You can see the straights just aren't quite long enough to get a run, and with all of them having DRS, it's not really going to be able to close on the guy in front. It looks like Macedonian's holding good enough pace to not really allow Lucy a nose as he gets a bit slidey there, but the gap is too big, I think, for Lucy to really make a move. So these guys are going to stay in formation for one more lap, at least. So Lucy runs a little bit wide there, that'll be a warning. So don't want to have too many of those coming into the race. But we'll keep an eye on that train. Down the field, F1 Boy and BMAC are going side by side. F1 Boy having to concede a BMAC around the outside in the end of the DRS. That's a difficult one to stick without going wide, so BMAC's done well there. F1 Boy losing out now in P13 on medium tyres. A couple of laps older than BMAC's hards, but BMAC probably has a bit more pace in general. He's lost a fair few positions this race so far, so not going too well for the Red Bull man, but a lot of laps left to go. We are only just about a third of the way through, so we'll be here for a while. A lot of time still to make a comeback. So good job there for BMAC. He's already cracked the second as well, so now he can set about chasing this big train of RD, Honest, Kino, Lunacy and Macedonian. So Lunacy on the hard tyres as well. He's actually dropped a tiny bit of time to Macedonian here, so Lucy could come under threat here if he doesn't have DRS on the hards in front of him, and no, he doesn't have DRS, so Cap Kino will. So we might see the AlphaTauri make a move possibly into turn, I think it's turn 6 at the end of the straight. Kino gets 3 seconds, which is not going to help his cause. Can he get the run? Well, he's got a decent run actually. He's going to open his DRS, but I think the straight's going to be too short for him to really make a move. He's not using his overtakes, so we notice this isn't the lap. Drow and Macedonian ahead, so Drow losing out another spot, still on those hard tyres, so he's going to be a bit of a cork in the bottle for these guys behind. It's important for Macedonian to close him now and get past him, because now Lunacy's going to be stuck behind him for pretty much the whole second sector where there's not really a viable overtaking spot. So that's a good move for Macedonian there to get that done. He now can stretch the legs a tiny bit while that Mercedes is in between the pack. AC Lunacy's already caught right onto the back Drow. So now Lunacy's going to be losing a lot of time here. He's going to not quite throw it up the inside. He might try and get a run and get a move done. We'll have to correct his throttle actually a tiny bit there. He's not going to get a move done, is he? We're just going to send it. He always runs to the back of him and he's gone straight on, has Lunacy. So not ideal there. What happened with Drow? Drow has, I think he's managed to keep out of the wall actually, but Lunacy is well off into the runoff now. Probably quite frustrated with himself, having outbroken himself behind the Mercedes. He's going to drop right down the field now as Hold Up Man Dan is in the pits now on the medium tyres. So first one on the mediums to make a move. Drow still heads up this pack. So Lunacy, not sure why he didn't try and make the corner there. Maybe he knew he was carrying too much speed, but he's now lost out a lot. So Drow and Cap Kino will lead the charge against the Mercedes now, and he might try and make a move. No, he's not quite. Honest Crook right behind the United Shanks again. But Drow looks like he's really struggling at the moment. Cap Kino trying to get the power down. As he's going to go deep. Lunacy gets 5 seconds of speeding in the pit lane, which is not ideal. Goes with a decent run, but Capkino should have the pace on this medium tyres. He's going to get a bit of a squeeze on the wall actually, but he should be able to brake later. Yep, gets that move done. Runs a bit wide, that might be a warning, but move done for Capkino, and now it's up to Honest and R13 to get past him. Macedonian as well at the road now. Macedonian's already got a 5-second gap to Kino, just about, so you can see how important it is to have clear air for your pace. Lucy's pit again for mediums, by the way, so he's picked up some damage in that collision there. Far from ideal for the Ferrari man, who is contending in that top 5. So he's going to have a long race ahead of him now, especially if you don't get a safety car. Looks like his teammate honestly might be on the charge against Drow. Can he do a better job at it? He's going to not have the run, he's going to brake late, but not too late. So Drow staying in front for the time being, but Honest looks like he's got slightly better pace. Capkino's already over a second ahead. And what can Artie Cheng's do there as well? Currently 6th in the championship. He's got a fairly big gap to P5, I think. I'll check that again so I know I'm not talking rubbish. Actually no, so, Artie Cheng's pretty close to us, so if Artie Cheng can get a good result here, he could come well into that top 6 fight. It looks like Honest Cook should be able to get Drow now. Drow's going to move to the inside and back to the outside. Honest Cook might send it down the inside. He knows he's going to sit back again, so Honest Cook needs to get this move done because he's now just losing lots and lots of time to Capkino. He's going to give Drow a tiny touch, but Macedonian Capkino down the road. Honest Cook needs to go now. If he doesn't get this move done now, it's going to be another lap of pain. But it looks like he's got to finally have enough confidence to go down the inside. Drow's actually got wing damage as well, it's worth noticing. Artie Cheng can go down the inside as well. Can he get it stuck? Not quite. Drow holds it around the outside. Honest Cook loses the back end, and he's going to be desperate to hang on to his position. And it's Drow hit the inside wall, and they're now almost 3 wide, and they've both managed to clear Drow. Drow's going to send it down the inside, give a tiny touch, but backs out of it. Now Artie Cheng is going to have a good run on Honest Cook, but not really an overtaking zone down here. Where the old slingshot used to be, but that was a lot messier than it needed to be. They've lost massive time to Capkino and Macedonian. Capkino is now almost 5 seconds ahead of Crook, and Macedonian is another 6 seconds ahead of Capkino, so they've lost massive time being stuck behind the Mercedes. Holderman Dan may be the next one to have a go, so that's allowed Holderman Dan right back into the battle, where he probably shouldn't have been before. But Drow with wing damage, being the roadblock, and guys aren't being aggressive enough to get past him quickly. So Drow putting the car in the right spot to make it difficult. But you can see Holderman down again, just being tentative on the back. He needs to get past him this lap if he wants to hunt down the guys in front of him. Does Holderman down. He's pit recently for those medium tyres. The guys P White shipment tyres are still out with soft tyres. Medium tyres, sorry, they started on. So Holderman Dan is finally going to get the move done, although he's has to take the tight line. Drow runs wide and wide again. But looks like Holderman Dan will get through this time, so does that a little bit easier than the other guys did, but he's now going to have to chase down Artie Cheng's again, who's on the back of Honest Cook still, so we might actually have a look at that even. Yeah, not going to be close enough to make a move this lap, no, so meanwhile, back in P13 land, there's a bit of a battle happening for MJ and F1 Boy. MJ right at the back of F1 Boy, but not going to be able to make a move, I don't think. Lucy will be behind and catching up to them. He just at the quickest lap of the race, but in the middle of nowhere really, so unfortunate for the Red Bull Ferrari man. But these guys P13 looks like they're fairly close to possibly having to switch over. MJ looks like he's got a bit of pace at the moment. But F1 Boy is not going to let him pass. I don't think they are on similar strategies, so they are racing each other genuinely for position. As MJ is going to almost sneak down the inside. I think he thought about it, but thinking better of it, does the Mercedes man on the Williams of F1 Boy. Can he get him under brakes? He's going to absolutely send it. He's going to take him out. Yeah, that's a no-no for MJ. Is going to cop a penalty from stewards for that, for hitting F1 Boy off the track. Has he got damage? I'm not sure if he's going to have a bit of damage, but MJ will be at a bit of chopper for that one. That was not a clean move, which is not great for him. But F1 Boy's come off really bad off that one. Shumatada, meanwhile, on the back of P White still, so these two still on those medium tyres. Suskas is only 2 seconds behind them now, so Suskas is really closing in quickly, but these two are probably going to try and stick it out as long as they can. Maybe they'll try and put them to softs before the rain comes, unless they just go for some mediums again and be a bit safe. Although I'm saying that, people have pit recently for hard, so maybe we have to assume there's no rain coming. So BMAC and Joel having a side by side as well. BMAC gets through on the DRS for P10, so 1 point at the moment for BMAC. He's going to hope for a few more of those. He's got a 5-second gap ahead to double that, double those points there. So we'll see if he can close that gap. It's going to be a big ask on those hard tyres, but we'll see what he can do. Drow still hasn't pit either on those hard tyres, so he's sticking it out for the long run. Shumatada picks up 3 seconds. Far from ideal if he's far for the win. Look at Suskas, he's already closed in another second on these two. So Suskas on those fresh mediums, or fresher mediums, got some really strong pace. As Alcatraz is calling F1 boy to get on among us. Unfortunately your boy's just been taken out a little bit, Alcatraz, so we'll see what he can do for the remainder of this race, and maybe he can sweat it out by murdering a couple of people on a cartoon spaceship. We'll have to see about that, but we have a race to worry about first. These three really heating up for the race lead. One Sick Mofo 3.3 seconds back still, so not quite the fight, but he will be catching these guys. Suskas, we'll see if he can get by. Looks like he's going to have a decent run on Shumatada, but the Shumatada will have DRS on PY. But looks like Suskas pushing with the ERS now. He's going to go down the inside, is he? No, Shumatada is actually going to dive P White and get through. Somewhat questionably, P White's going to lose 2 places because of that. Sack is another interesting move there. Shumatada may cop a little penalty for that, but Suskas now on the outside can't really squeeze through there. Not really a viable overtaking spot. P White losing out in that little battle there. Suskas going to go down the inside. As you get a nice Harley cam actually, and Suskas is through, so that's the nice move there. But I think it's Shumatada just going late on the brakes to avoid making contact. As P White's actually going to send him back, so we'll call that one off the pair of them, I think. A bit of a send each, but maybe justice restored there. But they're going to be side by side, P White and Shumatada. Who's going to be later on the brakes? Shumatada down the inside. He's going to try and hold P White with the traction on the outside, gets that move done. So I think that's justice restored, and these guys can go on about it as they were before. But look at the other Renault of Mofo. He's caught right back up again. So he's closed that 2-second gap like nothing due to this little battle here. So Mofo will probably want to get through as soon as possible, not let Suskas run away too much. He's going to have Macedonian starting to catch him if he gets stuck behind these guys a bit too much as well. So we'll have to see what Mofo can do on those 8-lap-old hards. The guys in the mediums, they're going to be really hurting now. It looks like he's got a good run here, should get the move done down into turn 1 on Shumatada. Yep, gets that done nice and easily. And I doubt Mofo's teammate's going to put up much of a fight. Although he's got to be careful to not let the Shumatada through if he does let Mofo through. We'll have to see what the play is between the Renaults, but currently P2 and P3, which is amazing for them. But P White and Shumatada will have to pit definitely, probably in the next few laps. So we'll have to see what they can do. Mofo is still behind his teammate, but we might see him make a move soon. Suskas is already 2.5 seconds up the road, 3 seconds between Suskas and Mofo. So Mofo is going to want to have to clear his teammate as soon as possible. He's not quite going to yet. P White's there in front for now. Shumatada still behind as well. So we might see a move on the next straight from Mofo if he can get a good run out of the hairpin. And he's going to try and get the car turned around, and the hard tyres is not the easiest thing to do. Mofo now using that overtake. He might try and make a move here. He's going to send it down the inside of his teammate. P White is going to... Oh, it's going to be a half battle. We'll call that a half battle there, but Mofo gets you on the inside. P White doesn't close the door on him too much. Maybe a tiny bit of contact there, but nothing to worry about. But Mofo now through. Shumatada and P White can resume their battle. They're going to have a fair few laps left before Macedonian catches them, but they probably will pit before that. We'll pull up the gap to leader. They will come out probably around about BMAC or so. It's just over 20 seconds for pit stop here, it's quite long. But if they pit now, they'll probably come around about the P10 mark, these two. But it looks like they are going to stay out for at least another lap. P White and Shumatada, they are the only guys to not pit other than Drow, who's dropped back to P11 So he's not having the easiest time of things on those hard tyres. If I was him, I'd be pitting now for mediums, honestly, if I was Drow. But let's see what he can do. Lucy picks up 3 seconds, as Shimotaro is going to go down the inside of P White, gets the move done. P White can't fight back that time, so Shimotaro down the inside a lot cleaner than the last time, which is good there. So well done there for the McLaren man, the sole McLaren man in this race. P White still in P4, but has good pace we've seen so far, so he should be able to stick fairly close to Shimotaro, though makes a bit of a mistake there, as it is now raining. Look at that, it has started raining, and it looks like it started fairly quickly actually. The track already looks greasy, so that's happened quite quickly there, and look at P White's already starting to feel the effects of it. I wonder if they're gonna have to pit in the next couple of laps, because I think if Shimotaro and P White can pit now, the track's wet enough, they're going to be in the best position to gain lots out of this, because they have not pit, everyone else has pit. They would have thought themselves up the field a whole lot, but I'm not sure if it's quite wet enough yet. Usually my indicator personally is the spray coming off the tyres. I think a lot of people use that. There isn't really any spray, so it might be 1 lap to go, but with the age of those mediums you might see them in early. Looks like he's struggling a bit on the power. P White is going to bite, and as does Shimotaro ahead, so late move to go in the pit lane. Macedonian comes in as well. Shimotaro picks up 5 seconds for speeding. That's going to hurt him a lot at the end of the race, if he's that close to P White. But the two Renaults are going to have to double stack. It's like someone's off in the second sector. It's not Artie, I think it's Dan the Racer. There's a Mercedes off ahead of him as well. I think that is MJ. Yes, MJ has picked up, he might have picked up some damage as well. No, he might just go deep then, but look at everyone coming in on mediums now, so they've decided to go now. P White has lost out to Macedonian in the pit lane due to having a stack behind his teammate, but still P5 after where he started is a fantastic result. But now the real hard work begins, trying to keep the car on the track, as there's a Ferrari in the wall. That is lunacy, so his day's going from bad to worse in the Ferrari. He's got more damage, and he's definitely going to have to pit now for, we can imagine, more winters now. You can see him sliding around horribly on those medium tyres, so the track has changed incredibly quickly from dries to wets, as everyone is in the pits now. So Suscuss now 6 seconds in the lead. We'll flip to him there, so he's got a nice little buffer there to Mofo and Shimotaro, Macedonian and P White, so the gaps have all grown a lot now. That's what can happen in the pit stops, because you can enter the pit stops quite close together, but once you leave, the game does space you out a certain amount, as these guys are acclimatized to the track conditions at different speeds. We may see some of these gaps continue to grow, but the closest gap at the moment on track is BMAC and Honest Cook. They are right about a second. So I guess this is phase 2 of the Singapore Grand Prix. We've got the last 12 laps to be in wet conditions, unless it does dry up again, which I'm not too sure if it will in such short time. But phase 2 begins. Who can get the times down in the wet, who can find their rhythm quickest, who's got the confidence to really push the car. It's going to take a few laps of feeling out, but this could be quite defining for a couple of guys who are confident in these conditions. BMAC and Oz staying fairly even on pace. BMAC will be pushing, I'm sure, to get back into some decent points. Getting a little bit slidey through there, just trying to find where the traction point is. Looks like he's running a couple of assists there, so that's going to help him. He's got someone off. Is that Dan? Hotman Dan has gone off from inside the points there, so not ideal. Far from ideal for the AlphaTauri man. He's got some damage as well, which is really going to hurt. He's just pit, and his teammate Cap Kenneth in the pits as well for more inters. So I wonder if those two Haas's have come together actually. I don't think they were close enough on track together. Actually, just looking at the mini-map now, on the race replay, I think Cap Keno has lost it himself, coming out of the third to last corner. And so they both AlphaTauris have happened to just lose at the same time. And Holderman Dan is got to pit for wet, which is interesting to say the least. Usually it takes a fair few laps of the track to get from dry to inters to wets, if at all. But he's decided that he doesn't want anything of the inters anymore. Maybe just taking a chance because he's lost a couple of valuable points there, but the track doesn't look anywhere near wet enough for wet tyres yet. Right on board as he leaves the pit lane. Yeah, that track's not quite ready for wets yet, I don't think. It'll be still be inters conditions. You only really want to go on the wets if it's an absolute blizzard, which it might be heading towards, but I don't think it's quite ready at this stage. Although it doesn't look too bad through there. But right on board BMAC, who's still in the back runners crook here for what is now P7 after both AlphaTauri's bottled their races. Cap Kino came back out in P9. He wouldn't have lost as much time as his teammate having to stack behind him. But Cap Kino losing out on the potential top 5, 6, 7. But if he can pick up a couple of points, then it won't be the worst results anyway. But we'll have to see what he can do on his charge back to the field. We've got 10 laps left to go. Gap up front is 7 seconds. You've got 5 back again, and then 2, and then 9. So quite big gaps. And then 11, 10. And this is the smallest gap on track as BMAC just gets a pull up in time to dodge the wall. So you can see the gaps on the mini-map. And then also on the timing screen on the left hand side are quite big, which can happen in the rain. Particularly at such a technical track here where the driver's skill levels and abilities with the assist in these weathers can vary, in this condition can vary a fair bit. So these guys are starting to really spread out. So let's hope something happens that can condense the field slightly. I've been keeping an eye on Haldeman and Dan's pace. He's losing a fair bit of delta to Dan the racer in front of him. So I don't think those wets are really working yet. But we'll give it a couple more laps and see what time is like. But right on board actually, it is raining a fair bit, but I don't think it's wet conditions rain yet, as someone else is around. I think that is Haldeman down on the wets. It is. So he's gone around again, so he's got no grip really. MJ gets through. You can see him he's just playing across the whole track. He's going to hold it. That's a fair save there. But yeah, those wets not working. You can see him just sliding everywhere. Lucy's going to get through, and Haldeman Dan's just going to slide straight into the wall and go round. So Haldeman Dan needs to pit off those wets, I think now. That's an experiment that hasn't worked. As he's in overtake, which is probably not the place to be either. Overtake mode with the ERS. Speaking of overtake mode, Macedonian might be lining himself up because he's close within a second of Ashima Tata. So Macedonian in the wet conditions looks like he's got some good pace here. Mofo picks up a time penalty out of P2, which might hurt him at the end of the race, particularly if Macedonian does start to catch him. But Ashima Tata in P3 currently would be amazing if he could get a podium, but championship leader hunting him down, it's going to be incredibly difficult to keep him at bay. As we've got some more yellows, that looks like Haldeman down again. Yeah, he's just doing some donuts. He needs to get off those wets, I think, before he crashes and causes a big accident with himself there. So they're not quite working. Definitely not working. Actually, Suscuss is coming up for him now, so he'll need to get out of the way for blue flags. As yeah, it's just not quite working for the AlphaTauri man. The other AlphaTauri's got the Mercedes of Drow right behind him as well, so those yellows just there for Haldeman Dan to get out of the way. So that's a real shame going a lap down. Once you go a lap down, it's really hard to recover. So that's disappointing there. But Macedonian right on the back of Shimatata is going to think about throwing a nose in. Shimatata has to kind of defend the inside line. It's the last thing I'm going to be doing with the run out of the hairpin. Macedonian using a bit of overtake there. Can he throw the nose in? He's going to go around the outside. Shimatata defends the inside again. Can Macedonian open up the corner enough? Not quite. He's got a decent run through here. There's going to be on the inside, and there's going to be a tiny bit of contact. They've managed to avoid putting each other in the wall somehow, which is incredibly impressive actually. But Macedonian will hang on. I think behind I saw a yellow dot also stuck on the map there. So I think P White might have made a mistake. I'm not 100% sure there, but that gap's now 11 seconds. But Macedonian all over the back of Shimatata, but can't quite squeeze through. Haldeman Dan is, I think, in the pits on the left-hand side there, yep. So he's decided those hards, those wets, sorry, are done. Looks like Shumatada defending the inside line again. Can he go around the outside? Mastoni, he's going to make a strong move. He's going to go off the track to do it. And that's probably slightly illegal. He might need to address that as sportsmanship. But Shumatada, if he doesn't like that, he'll send it into the stewards. But Mastoni is through. Not sure what Shumatada will have to fight back. It's going to use a bit of battery, but it's not going to be enough to get back to the last man. So Shumatada getting overtaken now, Mastoni into the podium position, but he's lost a fair bit of time to Mofo ahead, 8.7 seconds now. So what can Mastoni do? Currently his teammates in P1, quite comfortable actually, just chilling out there for now. That gap to Mofo staying fairly level. Looks like down the field, BMAX still stuck behind Honest Crook and Drow right back of Capkino still. So, as Capkino's gone deep, just a big job to that battle. Capkino has lost that position now. So he's now dropped to P10, one solitary point at the moment. Drow was kind of stalking him for a while there. Managed to get that move now after that mistake there from Capkino. Up ahead, BMAC on Honest Crook for P7. BMAC hasn't quite gotten close enough to really throw a nose in anywhere, or kind of be particularly threatening for Honest Crook yet, but he's been sitting right behind him for a fair few laps. So Honest Crook will know he's there and will probably start to feel the pressure really building now. But Honest Crook doing really well, flying the Ferrari flag after Lunacy's poor race, having run to the back of MJ and gone well into the runoff area. But BMAC not really close enough to make a move. This is the closest battle on track, so we'll keep an eye on this fight. Shumatada has now dropped 2.3 seconds, 2.4 to Mastoni, and that is climbing massively. So Shumatada doesn't look like he quite has the pace to match the top three at this stage. Mofo has caught Suskas slightly on the last lap, but I know with these kind of conditions the lap times and confidence can vary a fair bit, so we will watch that gap over the next few laps and see whether Mofo can catch Suskas. But Suskas is the man doing everything right at the moment. Getting that strategy right, undercutting his teammate by pretty much 8 seconds at the start of the race, and timing that pit stop well on the inter tyres, and then getting the jump. So he's now got a very comfortable lead, 7 seconds over Mofo and Mastoni, another 8 seconds back again. So those top three driving very well at the moment. Shumatada and P White up there due to their strategy, starting on the mediums and stretching them out long past their prime as someone is in the wall. Is that a Renault? It looks like it is a Renault. Oh, it was Capkino in the pits. I'm not sure what happened. I'm pretty sure I saw a stationary Renault, but I'm not 100% sure who that was, as Capkino has retired in the pits for some reason. He was running just in the points there. Maybe I was just seeing things. I'm sure I saw a stationary Renault, but it may have just been going through a hairpin or something. But that's a good thing that neither of them have really done anything too bad. Although P White has lost a lot of times, maybe P White did have a bit of an off there. I didn't quite catch that, apologies there. I thought I saw a slow moving Renault on the map, but I'm not too sure. So Capkino makes the third retirement here, Bretho and Candy Cane both retiring in the pits as well. So no one's actually been into the wall yet, which is, or at least terminally, which is a good thing. But with 6 laps to go in these kind of conditions, could get quite hairy quite quickly for some guys. Just have to see if these guys can keep it on the black stuff. Artie Chang's is starting to catch up to P White after possibly a mistake from P White. Honest Crook also still having to defend from BMAC, who's still 1.1 seconds behind, so that gap is still stationary at about that gap. Not close enough to make a move, especially at a track like this. So BMAC's gonna have to put in some good laps to really kind of be threatening, because Honest Crook's just chilling there at the moment. P White looks like he's struggling for the general pace now at this phase, so Artie Chang's is closing a fair bit. P White's lost a lot of time to Shumatada. Those two pit at pretty much the exact same time, right next to each other. But in these wet conditions, it looks like P White just doesn't quite have the pace compared to some of these guys, but he's got a big gap behind Artie Chang's now, which he probably is going to stay in. He's going to defend the outside. Actually, P White's got some damage, so that would explain why. P White's got front left end plate damage, so that would explain that pace deficit. So he's probably made a mistake somewhere. I don't know if he made contact unless he just did it a couple of laps ago when I noticed that yellow flag. I wonder if he's picked up damage there, because he's now struggling a fair bit. He's got a lapped car, I think it's Holloman down behind, and then a 7.2 second gap to Honest Cook, which is closing massively. So yeah, I reckon P White's picked up that damage recently, and that's going to hurt any sort of chance of a top 5. But he's still going to be on for points. I think he may as well just stay out. The worst he's going to drop to, I think, is P8, because Drow's got a 22 second gap. If you add up all those gaps, Drow's almost 30 seconds behind P White. So it is a pit stop. Has he got more yellows? That looks like a Red Bull. I think it's B-Mac. B-Mac's gone deep in the hairpin, I think, there. So not ideal there. He was right in the back of Honest, so I wonder if he's tried to make a move and it hasn't quite worked there. Or if he's just cooked it on the power, I'm not too sure. But B-Mac now dropping a fair way back, so that's going to relieve a lot of pressure off Honest Crook, who's closing P White at a rate of knots, as Honest Crook's actually put it in the wall, so he might have a bit of damage now. No, it looks like he's gotten away with that. So guys still struggling to find their any sort of rhythm here. Lots of mistakes from these guys, but Honest Crook really catching P White massively. So P White's struggling an awful lot, as Honest Crook is going wide everywhere. That's probably going to be another warning for him. In terms of the track limits penalties, I think most of the gaps are kind of too big for any sort of track penalties to play much of a part, as there's a Mercedes on the wall that is Drow in P9. He's got more damage at right end plate. He's currently sitting in the points actually. He's got an 18 second deficit, so if he pits he'll only lose 1 spot, but it looks like he's going to stay out with 6 laps to go. Down the race behind picks up 3 seconds, not going to help him. Lucy on the back of MJ, so Lucy on the move. He's got a lot more pace than P12. But he's going to have a second crack at getting past Mercedes here, and hopefully it is a lot cleaner for his sake than the first chance, as you can see that rain really pouring down. I wonder if it's going to be wet conditions soon, full wets. May not be enough laps to make it worth it, although once the full wet conditions are in play, wet tyres really make a massive difference there, as there are yellows up here. I'm not too sure what for. It might be it's F1 Boy, he's gone round. I knew the leaders were around about there. I was a bit worried that one of the leaders might have put it in the wall, but it is F1 Boy who is a lap down. So he's got a whole lot of trouble happening for him right now. Looks like he's going to come in the pits with some front wing damage. Lucy right in the back of MJ. He might, no, he's not going to send it. F1 Boy trying to get in the pit lane. Looks like he's struggling a bit with that. I think he just missed it almost the first time. But Lucy right in the back of MJ here is not quite going to be able to make a move. Honest Cook as well is right behind P White, as F1 Boy's going to retire. P White's deep. That's going to cost him potentially a position. They're going to go side by side under the tunnel, which is not ideal. P White gets a bit squeezed there, gets the move done, does Honest. So fair move there. P White really struggling with that front wing damage. He's now got an 8-second gap back to B Max, so he needs to hold on 2 seconds a lap pretty much the rest of the race, which is going to be tough in these conditions with damage. He's actually going to pit, so that is going to drop him. Oh, it's going to drop him to P8 anyway, because he's not going to lose that to Drow. So maybe not the worst call for P White, if he's going to lose that position anyway. But that's a shame for him, who was running right up in that top 5 area until picking up that damage. So that's hurt him a tiny bit. Meanwhile, MJ still having to defend from Lunacy here. P White's gone full wets. Actually, that is interesting, because if it is full wet conditions, pitting now could be worth it. With such a long track and so many corners, as soon as you get full wet conditions and intermediate tyres, they just absolutely aquaplane like crazy. It's like driving on hards on a wet track. So if it's wet enough, hards could be viable. Is anyone going to make a call? No one is going to. So it looks like they're not willing to take the gamble at the moment. That P White on the hard tyres, the harder tyres, the hard wet tyres, he's now on P9 and he's got a 5.5 second gap, so I'm going to keep an eye on that gap. That gap's coming down massively actually. So I wonder if P White is actually onto something. I'm not sure if he's going to catch 20 seconds to B-Map, but you should be able to catch Drought if the track is full wet, although that's not going to help him. He's just binned it in the wall. So I think that's any chance of catching Drought on then for P White. That's a real shame. A bit of a commentator's curse there perhaps, but that's going to cost him possibly points now. We've got more yellows. That looks like Mercedes. Is that MJ? No, it's his teammate Drow. He's gone deep. He's actually gone round there, so P White does get Drow, but at the cost of a front wing. And it looks like down the race, MJ, Lunacy might get Drow as well. Yeah, down the race he goes very, very deep there. The track is definitely shocking now. I wonder if it is full wet conditions and if anyone's going to pit 3 laps. You're going to have to back yourself to be 7 seconds, 8 seconds quicker per lap than you would have been, but if conditions are that bad, you could possibly make it work. You might see someone like P White's already in, so I'm not too sure. Maybe you wouldn't risk it at this stage, but it'd be an interesting idea. If this happened 2 laps ago, I reckon we'd see a lot of people in for wets, but with only 3 laps to go, I think people might be a bit scared to pass. As for Drow and MJ having a side-by-side here, MJ, sorry, not Drow and MJ, my bad. Oh, down the race side, he's actually hit the wall there, trying to get past Drow here. They're going to go side-by-side still. Drow's going to hang on around the outside, and down the race still struggling. Has he got damage now as well? No, down the race he still has no damage, but he's going to get through on Drow on the power there. Drow's probably going to pit, he will, yeah. So Drow with that damage, he's going to slow it down for the pit lane, and he's going to drop out of the points. His teammate will inherit a point, but can Lunacy take it off him? He still hasn't been able to find a way past Mercedes. So I wonder if Lunacy can really do anything about it, or if MJ's defence is going to be solid enough as it has been so far to hang on to that point. In terms of penalties, I haven't really checked either. I don't think there's too much point checking because the gaps are very big across the field. Although Mofo is probably worth noting is catching Suscas, but he's going to run out of laps to really do anything about it. But if Mofo has less penalties than Suscas, it could play a difference. I might have a quick look now, actually, just the top couple of guys. So Suscas has no penalties, and Mofo has 1 penalty, so that doesn't matter so much anyway, because Suscas is clean. He's got a couple of warnings, so Suscas doing everything right on track to win this race, which is good for him. Superb to see him having such a good race up front. He's really stamping some authority on this championship challenge now. It's not just his teammate racking up the points, he's picked up his pace massively the last few weeks, has Suscas. He's definitely one to be watching out for race wins. So we'll have to keep an eye on his progress in the next few races as well. But if he can hang on to this race here at Singapore, then that's going to line him up very well for the backstretch of the season. So Suscas driving incredibly well. I'm actually have a look at him as we talk about him. Haasman clearly out in front. He's lapped a fair few people as well, which is a good indicator of his pace. He's actually lapped everyone up to Drow, as I think, speaking of, Drow's just put it in the wall. I think he's, just grazed the wall there. So Drow again, he pit for wets, but he's got more damage. I wonder how many front wings he's gone through today. He's going to accelerate into the wall there, probably quite frustrated. So Drow's had a bit of a stinker as well, unfortunately for him. Maybe the track's just not quite ready enough for wet tyres yet. He's going to hit the wall yet again, so we might just stay off that because he's really struggling now. Lunacy still in the back of MJ, but not close enough. We might actually flip to Mofo though, because we haven't seen him for a long time, as Drow has retired from the session now. In sector 3, it's probably too late. Yeah, it's definitely too late to cause a safety car, but not the way you'd want to end your race there in the wall. You can see there the rear tyre gone. Yes, I think the safety car and virtual safety car, when you get to the last 2 laps, they won't come out, so it hasn't affected the race result, which is good there. But Drow won't score points. That is DNF number 5, and actually the first one on track, I think. So these guys have done well to not crash terminally, but you'd still rather be finishing the race, I think, if you had the choice, which most people tend to. Lunacy still gritting it out in MJ. Hotman Dan's still a long way back, but still racing. You've got to respect people who finish their races regardless of how well or poorly it's gone. So Hotman Dan doing quite well to stay in this race, which is really pleasing to see, as he picks up 3 seconds actually. But I'd rather him be doing that in the race than having retired in the pits. So good job there for Hotman Dan, as Lunacy's going to push MJ around the hairpin there. So Lunacy looks like he's got the prowess on the brakes, but MJ's got him covered the traction, so it's making it really difficult for Lunacy to make a move. He's going to have to pull in a big dive bomb, which is difficult enough around here, let alone in these kind of conditions. As you see, Lunacy really squirrely on the back end now. Those tyres could be quite hot at this phase of the race. Looks like Suscas is coming through the second sector for the second last time, or third sector now. He's going to start the final lap. We might even just ride with him for this lap unless the Lunacy MJ battle gets close. But Suscuss having a good race. Mofo has caught him slightly, but he's going to run out of the laps to really do anything about it, is Mofo. So it's been a good comeback drive for Mofo, but Suscuss ultimately has had the pace for now. But he's got one more lap to keep it out of the walls. He should know he's got a penalty in hand as well, so doesn't have to do anything silly, does Suscuss. Last thing you want to do is bin it into the wall for no real reason. The Lunacy MJ battle is staying at about the second, so we'll stay with Suscuss as he comes around the corner, the last corner, for the second last time. It's going to go through turn 1, 2, 3, doesn't want to cut any of that, there's no point in taking any chances. The Haas a bit deep there, those tyres won't be too happy now, 11 laps old on those Inters. They won't be prime, but they should still have a fair bit of grip left in them. You should be able to do 14, 15 laps if you have to, although I guess with Singapore you're going to be cooking them a fair bit if you are pushing, so I reckon those tyres will be on about the 40%, maybe 50 if you're not very kind on them. But Suscuss, he's actually pulled a bit of a gap actually on Mofo this lap, so still got some good pace on those tyres, which is good to see. Mofo drops back to 3.5 seconds, and even more actually, so Mofo, I'm not sure if he's just pushing too hard and now it's kind of throwing it all out the window. But yeah, no answer for the Haas man, who for most of the season has kind of been the second driver, I guess, to Macedonian, who is leading the championship. But the last few weeks, Suscuss has been driving incredibly well. He's been quicker than Macedonian, or same pace if not quicker, a fair few races this season. He's been doing incredibly well at keeping his nose clean, being in the right spot at the right time, getting the strategy right. You saw that massive undercut on the first stint, getting that big gap over Macedonia, who he was behind at the start. So full credit to Suscuss for playing all his cards right, and now he's going to win one of the most demanding races on the calendar of Singapore. Had some dry, had some wet, had a few battles on track, had a bit of clean air to push the times, but nothing has been able to phase this man coming through the last couple of corners now for the last time. Track nice and wet, we'll ride on board with him. He's not losing out time to Mofo either, so drifting through the final couple of corners, the track is definitely wet conditions, full wet conditions now, but Suscuss will come around the final corner to win the Singapore Grand Prix in dominant fashion. He will come home ahead of Mofo, who is who's put in a good race himself actually, but didn't have any answer for Suscuss. Macedonia will finish P3 and spins across the track as somewhat of a celebration, we'll call that. So those three on the podium, showing some good form. So well done to the pair of them. Shun Matata in P4, he played himself into this race really well with strategy. He's going to reap the rewards of staying out on those medium tyres when a lot of other guys pit on softer, older tyres. Managing to make them last has bolted him up the field a whole lot. Shun Matata will come across the line in P4, big gap to P3, but he won't mind. That is solid points still for his championship. Artie Cheng's, you can see the track is definitely full wet now. These guys are really struggling. Artie Cheng's will come across the line in P6. There or thereabouts, he should be pretty happy with that, I think. I was the other Ferrari in P6. Sorry, my mistake, Artie Cheng's P5. My bad on that one. Honest Crook will take P6 for Ferrari. BMAC did a poor race in the end, had a poor first stint, had to pit early. But he'll come across the line in P7. He's got some more damage as well on that right hand end plate. But he'll pick up a few points, which is better than no points for his championship. He's actually going to come into the pits. For some reason, he's going to pull it up. I assume he won't lose out to P White. BMAC comes across the line now in the pit lane. P White on the hard tyres, the harder wet tyres, sorry. He'll actually jump BMAC by 3.6 seconds, so coming to the pit lane just cost BMAC some points actually, I think. So you wouldn't want to lose your place in the standings by a couple of points at the end of the season because of that. But anyway, P White will take 7th place. Could have been a lot higher if it weren't for a couple of mistakes there for P White. Down the race it will take home P9, and MJ will take the final point, managing to stay ahead of Lunacy, who's had a shock of race, although Lunacy I think did jump him on penalties. So Lunacy will take home 1 point, which is a lot less than he would have hoped for, but 1 point is better than 0 points for the Ferrari man. Shimatata picks up driver of the day on that alternate strat, done really well on that. So good stuff from him there. To get the driver of the day, well deserved, 100% there. But it is a double half podium with Mofo splitting them. Suscast this time taking the candy. Super job there from the Haas man. And then Mofo with a good P2, consistency really being key for him, as well as Macedonian on that podium. Regular attendees, which is great, so really showing their class at the top of the field. Not too sure what this does for the championship standings. The gaps were pretty big for the top 5, but I think Suscast will have closed in a fair bit on BMAC. It was a fairly big gap, but that will be a lot closer now that BMAC didn't score as many points as you would have expected. Lunacy picks up the fastest lap point as well, so it will be 2 points actually for Lunacy rather than just the 1, which is better than what could have been. So good stuff from him for getting the quickest lap. 4 DNFs, the game's counted Joe as a finish up because he did retire towards the end of the race, 4 laps down. But that will be the Singaporean Grand Prix. I reckon we'll just leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in, everyone. If you want to see more of these guys, all their races have been streamed by myself and also co-commentator a couple of times as well. So check them out on the Race Spec YouTube channel. And if you want to see more of these guys, then check out this space next week for I think it's Japan, or it might be Russia. I'll just check that quickly. It is Russia. So Russia next week, a bit of a corner cutting heaven. So it will be a different challenge to Singapore, but it should be a spicy race nonetheless. And if you want to check out any of the other tiers on Race Spec, they're all on the YouTube channel. Plenty of action happening during the week. But we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a lovely evening, and we'll catch you later. Take care.